I found out that I was officially pregnant when I was 17 weeks. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is Jayla, and today I'll be sharing with you my pregnancy story. So my pregnancy story is pretty complicated. So I met this guy and like we started talking, and then sooner or later we became like, we started doing more than just talking, and then I don't know, like a couple weeks later or months later, I noticed that I wasn't getting my period. This was in September, maybe? No, August I had not gotten my period. But the next month I had gotten it. So around like October-ish, I noticed that like my period didn't come that month. Then the next month it was really irregular. And yeah, I was irregular for 2 months, and then I let him know. I was like, hey, I didn't get my period. Like I thought, because I haven't gotten my period 2 months before, once, like a couple months before all of this. So I didn't think like anything of it. I was like, okay, well, I haven't gotten my period, so like maybe it'll come next month. I waited, it never came. I waited again, it never came, and I was like, okay, well, this is weird. But I never had any symptoms. I never threw up. I never, like, all the pregnancy symptoms I never went through. So I didn't think that like anything was, you know, I made jokes about it, but I never really took the initiative to like take that step to take a pregnancy test to see what's going on. So yeah, as of January 2019, I was like, okay, well, obviously this isn't right. I haven't had a period for 4 months. I've had my regular cycle for 4 months. So I was like, okay, well, I need to do something about this. So I went to Rite Aid, and Rite Aid is our local pharmacy, and I bought a pregnancy test. And I was like, okay, well, obviously like I might be pregnant, so I need to make sure, you know. So I checked to see if I'm pregnant, and sure enough, it's like, it popped up. No joke, I peed on the stick, and then 2 seconds later, like literally, like it popped up. So I'm like, okay, like I'm pregnant, like what am I gonna do? So I discussed with my sister. I remember going into the living room crying my eyes out, and I'm like, well, I don't know what I should do. Like, do I keep the baby or do I get an abortion? But at the time I didn't know how far along I was, so I was kind of set on getting an abortion. And I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I plan on getting an abortion. But I had always said growing up that I would never ever get an abortion. So it was kind of like, I was kind of like at fault. Like I felt like I was like, I don't know, like stuck, and I didn't know what to decide, and people around me was telling me do what's best for me, and I was just like, that really wasn't helping me. And I just wanted like a straight up answer from everyone else, and I didn't know within myself what to like do or what to decide. So I talked to the guy that I'm currently still talking to about the situation, and he pretty much was pretty supportive. He told me that either way he'll support me, like if I do the abortion, if I don't. So I was just like, well, okay, like I was just like, all right. So at the time, like my mom didn't know like about any of this. Like no one knew about any of this except my sister, the guy, and my little sister, my older sister, my little sister, and the guy, and maybe a few others around. So I made an appointment for the clinic, and they asked me like, oh, how far along are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm not really sure. And they're like, okay, when was your last menstrual cycle? And I'm like, I'm not really sure. So I was just like, I don't know where to begin. So then they made an appointment for me. I gave them my best estimate that I've got my full cycle, maybe possibly October, September, not sure. So they made an appointment for me and said I would have to go to a clinic like a couple hours from where I stay. And I was like, okay, like cool, like, but I guess it was a sign from like God himself or whatever. But I sorry, I ended up going to the wrong place, the wrong clinic, and I went to Parenthood, and they were like, oh no, your appointment's a few hours from now. And I was like, oh shoot, you're right, like, well, now what? And I was like, oh my god, like, I was stressing out because I didn't know like if I should go through with it or if I shouldn't. So I was like, okay, well, I obviously went to the wrong location, my appointment's already passed now. So my sister's like, okay, what do we do? And my sister's like, well, I could go, like, she had already driven me and she had work later that day. So she was like, well, I could take the bus home and you could just drive out there. And I was like, yeah, like, that sounds like a plan. And I was she was like, just call them and make sure that you'll still be able to come a little later. And I was like, you're right, because I didn't want to waste gas and drive all the way out there and then they'd be like, oh, like, you can't do it. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay. So then as we were driving there, like, no one was picking up. They had me on hold for a while. So I was like, I'll just reschedule, make the appointment for next Wednesday. So when they finally did pick up, I told them that I wanted to make an appointment for an abortion for next Wednesday. And they were like, okay, like, we'll see you then. Like, kind of nervous, so I had called off because I didn't know, like, if I was going to make it. And then they told me that, the doctor had told me that it'll be 2 days and that I needed time to recover afterwards. And I was like, oh my god, like, I can't be out of work for like a week. Like, my mom's going to be like, why are you home? Because I still stay with my mom. And then, like, there's going to be a lot of questions. So I was like, okay. And I was beating myself up about telling my mom everything, you know, like, I was just so nervous to tell her. I don't know why I was like stressed. Like, I was like, oh my god, I was crying in my room. And like, I was pacing back and forth. I was telling my little sister, like, what do I do? Like, I didn't know what to do. And then I went to work at 11 and then got off at 7. So when I was pacing back and forth, it was after. And like, I was just sitting on her bed crying and she didn't know what was wrong with me. She's like, what's wrong? And she comforted me and I told her the truth. I was like, hey, like, me and this guy, I'm like, no, we've had sex. And she was like, you're pregnant. Like, she pretty much took the words out of my mouth. And I was like, yeah. And then she just was like disappointed, but like, she was really supportive and understanding. And she told me that it was my life, my decision. And she's like, what's the plan? And I told her I really didn't have one. I didn't really know where to go, what to do. And I told her that I wanted to get an abortion and that I had already scheduled the appointment. And if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my phone. I remember walking into my mom's room and she had her earphones in and like, I was just sitting on her bed crying and she didn't know what was wrong with me. She's like, what's wrong? And she comforted me and I told her the truth. I was like, hey, like, me and this guy, I'm like, no, we've had sex. And she was like, you're pregnant. Like, she pretty much took the words out of my mouth. And I was like, yeah. And then she just was like disappointed, but like, she was really supportive and understanding. And she told me that it was my life, my decision. And she's like, what's the plan? And I told her I really didn't have one. I didn't really know where to go, what to do. And I told her that I wanted to get an abortion and that I had already scheduled the appointment. And it was super hard for me. But I remember after having the talk with my mom, like, I went into my room and I just started like thinking so hard, like, okay, now is the time to decide, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I remember writing down in my notes like how I felt about the entire situation. And I wrote how I felt first because I wanted to make sure that what my decision was going to be the right one and what's best for me and those around me. So I wrote, I am feeling upset, overwhelmed, confused, kind of happy. I said that abortion affects me because I feel as if I'm killing my own child. And I always said growing up that I would never ever get an abortion, so everyone in my family knew, like everyone was like, oh, Jayla doesn't support abortion. For me, but for other people it's perfectly fine, it's their bodies, but for me personally, I've always said I would never get it. But then I put that parenting makes me nervous because I don't have the ability, I felt, to support my child financially. But I have a lot of people around me that are supporting me. My mom, my sister, like a lot of people are supporting me around me. And I don't know, I just felt, when writing this note, I just felt that abortion was for me. Like, I just felt like that's what I needed to do. And then I asked myself a few questions, like what I want to get out of life. And I have a fashion show in a few months that I can no longer do because I will be pregnant. I will be 7 months pregnant. Oh, mind you, sorry, I should have said this earlier, but I just remember now. I found out that I was officially pregnant when I was 17 weeks. So I was just stuck. I was like, oh my god, like this baby's pretty much already a baby. It's formed. I just felt so bad. And I couldn't just bring myself to do it. Like, I couldn't, like, just do it. I couldn't just kill the baby, you know? Sorry to put it so bluntly, but I just couldn't do it. So I remember writing like all these things down and like saying how afraid I was and just nervous, and I just didn't know what to do. Like, everything was so complicated. So the guy, he had already had in his mind, because I had already told him that, oh, I'm getting the abortion, and he's like, okay, like he was supportive. But then I had already changed my mind. So I was like, okay, now I have to explain to him that I no longer want the abortion, and I just want to keep the baby. So I was kind of nervous, because we had already said we were getting the abortion, and then like I was just super nervous about the whole situation. Like, but I felt more relieved now that I told my mom, that my mom was supportive, and I was like, okay, my mom's on my side. Like, I was just like, okay, well, now I just have to tell him and let him know what I'm doing. So I told him, and like I was texting him. I wanted to wait because he had left town for a few days. I wanted to wait until he got back. So I told him, and he was like, I can't really speak for him, but I know like he was really confused and like overwhelmed, as well as I was, because I was switching my mind, I couldn't make my mind up. So I was just like, okay, well, this is what's happening, da da da. And he's like, okay, like I gave him time to process it, and then we both finally agreed that we wanted to do what's best for our baby. And then from there on out, I started pretty much going to the doctor, and they gave me prenatal pills, they gave me medicine for some antibiotics that I needed. They gave me like a list of things that I should be eating, and I just want to do what's best for my baby now. I just want to properly care for my child, and I feel like I missed out the entire first trimester, and I'm now in my second trimester, and I just feel like cook breakfast in the morning, eat lunch, have snacks here and there, like eat better for dinner. Like, I just want to do everything I can to make sure my baby's healthy. And I still get worried a lot when I don't feel him move or her move, and I just like, because I just feel like I did everything wrong. I took it about the wrong way. So I just feel like now that I just have to do everything I can to make sure that he or she is healthy. And yeah, like I just been on a roller coaster these past 5 months, and for the next however many months I have to go, I just want it to be the best it can. I don't know, I'm very happy and content right now, and like nothing will bring me down. I'm happy I decided to keep my child, and this is my first baby, and I'm only 20, so I know a lot of people have a lot to say about that because I'm really young, and I'm still in college, I work, and I just want to do whatever I can for him or her. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I hope you guys will come with me on this journey, my pregnancy journey, and watch me grow. Because as of now, my stomach's it's still small. It's like noticeable, but it's not noticeable. You get me? Like a lot of people at work, like customers, they're like, "Oh, are you pregnant?" And I'm like, "Oh, like, yeah." But I don't know. It's noticeable, but it's not. But it's pretty noticeable. But it's not huge. And I will be showing you guys like a stomach, like a progression video, like maybe the next video or a few videos. I have a lot in store for this channel. I want to do lifestyle. I want to do mom videos. I want to do hair, beauty, everything of that sort. And that's pretty much it. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.